Welcome back. When the new Congress convenes, it will have an historic new look. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent, Alexander Lamone, joins us now to talk about the historic election for women. Alex, great to have you with us on the show. All the talk going into the midterms was about a blue wave. Now we're talking more about a wave of women elected to office, and that includes some firsts for minority women.
Yeah, hey, good to be here. That's right. They're calling it a pink wave, and there will be a record number of women headed to Congress, the next Congress, including, we expect, at least 100 women headed to the U.S. House of Representatives and 23 to the U.S. Senate. Both of those are records, but women are also setting some other records, some firsts. The first two Muslim women elected to Congress in the midterms, including Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, who is also the first refugee elected to Congress. Also, we saw the first two Native American women from Kansas and New Mexico were elected as well. And there were all kinds of other firsts, like the first black woman to represent a district in Massachusetts, the first two Latinas to represent districts from Texas. That one actually surprised me. So Congress is going to be a little more diverse, but it is worth pointing out, though, that despite this record number of women getting elected in the midterms, still Congress will be less than 25% women. And that's not very reflective of the U.S. population, which is actually 50.8% female.
Yeah, perhaps this is a small step in getting to that breakdown. Let's talk more about this blue wave, though. It didn't entirely happen, but Democrats do now control the House. So how do you expect that to impact policy making for at least the next 2 years anyway?
Well, Democrats are definitely going to try to go in a very different direction, specifically on things like health care, for example. That was a signature campaign issue for Democrats, and arguably could have been the issue that actually helped Democrats win the House this midterm. You may remember the Republican-controlled Congress tried over and over. In fact, 54 times they voted to try to repeal the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. And Democrats will try to do the opposite. They will, in fact, try to shore up Obamacare, but whether they can actually accomplish it will require some compromise from their colleagues, Republicans in the Senate.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So let's talk more about that. Does this mean less gets done in Washington? We heard the president come out this week and say he wants to work with Democrats during the next couple of years. How do we see this playing out? Will they work together?
Well, I guess we'll find out. We did hear President Trump say that he wants to try to seek bipartisanship. We also heard Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic leader who will most likely become the Speaker of the House again, say the same thing, that they want to try to find common ground. And I think healthcare could potentially be a place where they can try to do that, because it was a big deal in the midterms. And maybe this is something that Republicans want off the plate before 2020. You know, they're not going to want Democrats going after them again over the issue of healthcare, because, again, arguably that could have been the thing that lost Republicans control of the House. Maybe other things like infrastructure. That's something that President Trump mentioned as well, but it's really going to depend on what House Democrats choose to do, because they're going to be in charge of some powerful committees in the House, and they'll have the power to try to do things like look into President Trump's finances, try to obtain his tax returns. Potentially, the House Intelligence Committee could reopen the Russia investigation. They could look into whether President Trump has conflicts of interest because of his company's dealings while he's the president of the United States. And actually, President Trump addressed that, saying essentially, if Democrats in the House try to go after me, I'll try to go after them. And if we see that kind of partisan fighting, well, it could really slow down any actual work that Congress can get done.
Yeah, and we definitely saw Republicans go after President Obama when they had control over those committees. And you will be there to cover it for us. We appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being here. Up next, Utah voters turned out in record number for the midterm election. Our panel will weigh in on the impact right after the break.